Hometown Foundation is excited to bring back the Dream Ride experience, August 26th to the 28th at Connecticut's Farmington Polo Club. Join us in celebrating the accomplishments of our Dream Riders while enjoying live music, a car and motorcycle show, family fun zone, pet adoptions, canine demonstrations, the Fireman's Chili Cook-Off, and much, much more. Get your tickets today.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to SportsSkope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this July the 5th, 2022 edition. I hope everybody had a good weekend on the 4th. I know I did pretty good. I mean, it's a little hot there. Did some work in the day job yesterday. Finished up Stranger Things. It's a good show, by the way, on Netflix, season 4. But today, I wanted to talk about all the trades that's going on, all the possible scenarios going on. Rudy Gobert, Gobert. He's French. Talk about that trade. I'm not sure that Ainge got the best this time. I do think that it is a good trade for Minnesota. I'll explain that. We'll go into the Jenny Buss comments. What does that really mean? Is Kobe Bryant the greatest Laker? I'm not so sure about that. Plus, the Blazers may be for sale, and the Seattle Seahawks, the late, great Paul Allen's sister, said they're not for sale now, but maybe later. They're not for sale yet. That's her direct quote. But first, there is a song that came out in the 70s, I want to say. It's an older song by Crosby, Steele, Nash, and Young. Way before my time, but I love listening to the old school stuff of my parents' generation. I think they had the best music in their era, particularly that decade in the 70s. Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant. Two players that everything I've read since this all came about last week, starting with Kyrie couldn't get his extension that he thought the Lakers may give him, or going back before that the this Nets team would give him. Neither came to fruition. Okay, this is a guy that missed half the season because he wouldn't get the COVID vaccine. Then you've got, on the other hand, Kevin Durant, a 34-year-old player who will be 34. He will be 34 in September. And we know the season starts in October, and then preseason into the regular season. And this is a guy who has been hurt often as of late. You know, he's played 55 and 35 games the last 2 seasons. These guys are coming off of a team in the Nets with Joe Harris, Steph Curry, not a bad roster there. And the Lakers are still hesitant, for all reports, to do a deal with Kyrie. I have another suggestion for Kyrie, but Durant has wanted to prove himself that he can do it without Golden State. Kyrie Irving's wanting to prove that he can show up and take basketball serious. Okay? These guys have a lot to prove. They come from a COVID season thrown in there. Went 7 games with the champ last year, not this June, 2021, Milwaukee. This year, they got half a season out of Kyrie because of the COVID stuff. Then you get James Harden trade. Ben Simmons never even played a single game with you. Okay, and by all means, nobody wants to give up everything for Kevin Durant either. A 34-year-old guy that's played 55 and 35 games. That's not going to get any better, okay? But my thing is, you know, you got these two guys here with Ben Simmons that will be coming back. You got shooters with Steph Curry and Joe Harris. They haven't had a full tilt together. Kyrie can create his own shot. He's going to get you 27 points. He's on a contract year. Didn't you see what he said last week? I want to fulfill my commitment to the Nets. And then when he heard Durant want to leave, okay, well, we'll go ahead and send me to the Lakers. Because Lakers didn't want to pay him because he's unreliable. He has a long history of wanting to just do everything but play basketball. I mentioned this on the Mac and Jack show on Sunday, that he's talking about fasting during the playoffs. Well, that's withholding food for religious purposes, but you're playing in a highly intense, competitive series, which you got swept in the Milwaukee series or Boston series, Pickles. So he's very flaky. He's inconsistent. He was inconsistent with Boston. He was inconsistent with Cleveland before LeBron got there. Yes, he needs to be a structured guy. Both of these guys need to be around another leader who will absorb everything from an emotional and physical standpoint. All right? And I think they should play together this year. They should play together. Durant's got 4 years left on his contract. And it's $42 million this year. That's going to go up. He's going to be 34, 35, 36, 38 years old. This guy's not going to play 60 games. And you'll be lucky to have him do a full playoff tilt. I'm not mortgaging my whole team for that, man. But I did do, guy's name's slipping my mind. He came on the Colin Cowherd show today, or it might have been yesterday. And he's the only one, his name will come to me in a minute, that said, without gauging, just gouging the team's bench and giving 6 and 7 first-round picks for a 34-year-old guy who might not play, he mentioned Boston, And I mentioned this on the tease when this story broke last Thursday, I want to say, Pickles, that Jaylen Brown, who made the comment liked the comment saying that he wasn't appreciated in Boston on the social media. That means something. He makes about $26 million a year. He's got 2 years left on his contract. 28, I think. He's about $12 million less than Durant. Jaylen Brown, emerging star with Boston. For Kevin Durant, maybe throw in a Derek White, throw in a bench player, a draft pick. You got it. You could sell that to me if I'm Brooklyn, Corey. Yeah, and I know Corey wouldn't like that. I know you wouldn't like that. I know the Boston guys would not like that. But there was another guy that works for Fox Sports mentioned that. He's the only other person that's mentioned that. Jaylen Brown, Kevin Durant, you've already got and Colin Cowherd, I'll give him credit for this. You've got the infrastructure, you've got the culture in place. He talked about these guys can be, they enhance teams. They don't make teams. You don't build teams around them. They enhance the teams better. Do not have these guys speak in front of the team during a 5-game losing streak. They're probably not the most effective, neither one of them, Kyrie nor Durant, effective communicators. They can't lead by example. Kyrie can't, you don't know what he's going to do from one day to the next. Durant's a very quiet, passive guy, great talent. But you put Durant in there, and Boston has another ring, I think. I think they would be favored. They would be favored during the regular season. I don't think they'll win 73 games, but I think that they would go through these are all hypotheticals, all through the playoffs like a hot knife through butter. They're a team that just needs something. And there's other Durant proposals out there I've read on other shows. the other Mac and Jack and Jim Jeffcoat show, where Durant can go to the Lakers, or not the Lakers. He would go to the Clippers in a 3-team deal, and Paul George would get moved to the Heat team. This crazy stuff. And these are legit sites too that know the breakdowns of these guys' contracts, because these contracts have to match up. If, for instance, Kevin Durant's going to make $42 million this year, $46 million next year, $49 million in 2024, and then at 37, he'll make $53 million. And you got trade proposals like Golden State, for instance. This is what NBA Central's got. This is from Mark Spears. The Warriors would have to give up Jordan Poole, Andrew Wiggins, Jonathan Kuminga, and James Wiseman. That's all their youth right there. So the people that think that this would be a open and shut case for Golden State, Durant will be 34. And Steph Curry will be 35. 33 for Draymond, 33 for Klay Thompson. They won't even finish 60 games together with no bench. That would be a horrible move for Golden State. Yes, Toronto would be there. I got this one off Complex. KD to New Orleans for Brandon Ingram. But the Nets will get Larry Nance, Brandon Ingram, Trey Murphy, 8 first-round picks. I mean, so you're going to put Durant with Zion Williamson, who just signed an extension, by the way. Here's one I like from Complex. KD to the Clippers, Hero to Brooklyn. The Nets will get Kyle Lowry, Duncan Robertson, which I like Duncan Robertson, Tyler Hero. I like those. Lowry's past his prime. 9 first-round picks. The Nets will get 9 first-round picks. The Clippers will get Kevin Durant, and the Heat will get Paul George. Okay? You see the gouging of benches that this would cause. And, of course, the Suns, there's a Suns proposal. This was from, I want to say this was from Sports Illustrated. Brooklyn will get DeAndre Ayton, Mikal Bridges, 2024 first-round pick, 2026, 2028. When you've got a 100-year-old Chris Paul there, and Ayton, we know about his liabilities. And then the Suns would get Kevin Durant, Booker, and Chris Paul, who's 100 years old in basketball years. The Raptors, Corey. Durant, this is also, I want to say this one's from Sports. This might be from The Athletic, actually. So the Raptors would get Durant. In return, Scotty Barnes, OG Agombi, Gary Trent Jr., 2027 first-round pick, 2028 first-round pick, and swap the 2029. Of course, the Nets would demand Pascal Siakam and Scotty Barnes according to this. So take your bench and your role players, get a big shovel, and dump them on this other team and say, play with a bunch of guys that towards the end of their contract and put them on the bench and hope they stay healthy. And you put a 34-year-old Durant in there with an aged team. And, of course, the Lakers one, this is from SI.com. Durant and Irvin together, Brooklyn receive Anthony Davis, Westbrook, Austin Rivers, 2027 first-round pick, and a 2029. Why would I want garbage for garbage? So, again, and here's one from the Grizzlies, Pickles. We saw what the Grizzlies did. They went 6 games with the champs. Brooklyn would get Jared Jackson Jr., Dylan Brooks, Xavier Tillman, their own unprotected first-round picks in 24 and 26, plus a top 4 protected first-round selection in Golden State through 24. Give all those players and put Kevin Durant with a young John Morant. That would just be insane with all those good players. Jared Jackson and Brooks? Dylan Brooks, are you kidding me? No way. So, again, like I started the program, for this year, for 2022 and 2023, the best option for Durant and Irvin is staying with Durant and Irvin and actually playing. And I would say this, the Nets should go out and get a defensive assistant somewhere and work on their defensive substitutions and chemistry with Kevin Durant, Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, and Joe Harris. That's pretty good. Look at the length between Durant and Ben Simmons. That's not bad. You got a Kyrie Irving on a contract year, which nobody's really wanting to extend him. Now, he's 30 years old. He still can get his own shots. He needs to be, like we talked about last week, on a year-to-year basis type of guy. I think he would be motivated. And we've talked about teams developing from within. Boston, Golden State, San Antonio. And Colin brought this up, Cal heard today. In the last 8 years, with a bunch of players thrown together, they've got one championship, and that was in the bubble with the Lakers. What has Kawhi Leonard and Paul George done? What happened in Boston with, not Boston, but with Brooklyn? We're seeing up to this point. What has happened with those players coming together? What's happened with Philadelphia throwing plays together with Jimmy Butler? You know, what's happened with all these guys? You know? So, love the one you with. The best opportunities right here. Let cooler heads prevail and try something there. Now, you say, well, what about Kyrie? What if Kyrie don't want to? Durant simply don't want to work with Kyrie. There's one other spot for Kyrie. People talk about LA. Yeah, if I'm LA, if I'm, I'll say, you want player for player? Give me Anthony Davis. I'll give you Kyrie. Straight up, their contracts are just about perfect matchup wise. What are they gonna do about a shooting guard? I don't know. That's a Laker problem. That's not my problem. What are you gonna do about Westbrook? That's a Laker problem. That's not my problem. If I'm Brooklyn, Milwaukee, we saw what Milwaukee did without Chris Middleton, Durant, and Kyrie. They need a cultural system to be around. They can't create that system. They cannot be built around. Okay? Most people would say, myself included, that as of today, Giannis is probably the best player in the league. He's young, 7 foot tall, handle the ball, defensive player of the year, MVP, finals MVP, you name it, he's done it. I mean, you name it, he's done. He's not a great three-point shooter, but he needed help. Now, Giannis, if you trade, I would say Drew Holiday, this guy, remember when Middleton went out, they really needed that offense. Milwaukee needed that offense. But you put a 1-year contract, Kyrie Irving, which he knows that Giannis is the man. He knows that Giannis is the guy. There's no debate about that. He knows that Giannis will be the guy. In contracts, perfect. Maybe Milwaukee throw a bench player in there. It's about $6 million or less difference. And you put Kyrie in there instead of a Drew Holiday, they probably beat Boston. And Kyrie would fall in line with the leadership of Giannis. That's a serious guy. This guy takes snaps before his games. He watches his weight. He watches, he works on every single aspect of his game. He's a throwback player, man, Giannis. And you put a scorer like a Kyrie up there, and you hang that 1 year above him, you hang that carrot on the stick, you might be able to get another 2 years out of him. He would be forced to play defense with LA, with the LeBron, with the Giannis. I think he would. He's having a moment. That system, those players, they needed that extra scoring. So he would work in Milwaukee. You put a Middleton or a Drew Holiday down there with the Durant, with that bench, with those role players, with Ben Simmons. If that don't work, if you're Brooklyn, I'm asking for a lot of picks. I'm going to ask for picks. And I don't really need an all-star player. If none of this stuff works, go with the picks. Go with the good contract, good role players on good contracts, and just start the whole thing over. But again, if you think about it, chemistry needs to develop. Going back to Ben Simmons, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, let them build something together and stay relaxed and get used to each other. Go out and get a defensive coach. They have the talent to win now. They still need to gel. They still need to gel now. And that's probably the best to Pickle says Simmons has a lot to prove. Simmons has a lot to prove. Durant wants to prove he can make it without Golden State and Russell Westbrook. Okay. Kyrie wants to prove he can get another big contract. There's a lot of motivation. There's a lot of carrots on the stick right there. You know? And I think that would work out. Because if you look at these teams, they're going to gouge. These are reputable sites. Sports Illustrated, Complex, The Athletic. Athletic it's some of the best reporters in the area, and they cover you pay for the subscription, which I do. And they're talking 5, 6, 7 first-round picks, all your role players in one player. That's gouging for a 34-year-old player. That is gouging your roster. And it's not about the playoffs as much as about getting good seeding in the regular season. And, you know, there's Shams Charania of Athletic. He's saying that the Nets are making moves as if they're going to keep these guys. They can keep Durant. Durant's on there for 4 years. He's signed for 4 years. I don't think he's going to sit out for 4 years. I would try to smooth things over with Durant and say, listen, man, you're not looking at this. You're taking a product that's not even finished. We don't have Ben Simmons out here yet. Okay? You've had Kyrie Irving for half of the season. These guys getting a 3 or 4 seed with all that extra experience, they may be a different outcome rather than spreading them out all over the place. It's food for thought. Very much so, food for thought. Okay. So, I was reading about this trade last week. Rudy Gobert trade. My initial reaction and the reports I read that these guys just got roped by Danny Ainge. You know, I really think Ainge did a number on these guys. And then I got to reading this trade. Yeah, they've got a lot of draft picks. They've got Patrick Beverly. And I'm trying to see everybody. I want to say that this trade here, you look at a team in Minnesota who cannot get players there. You know, they cannot get big free agents. You're never going to see LeBron go to Minnesota, okay, and freeze to death up there. You're never going to see that. They hit a home run with their last pick there. And Carl Edwards, or Anthony Edwards and Carl Anthony Towns, you know, and Edwards is on a rookie contract, guys, for 3 more years. Now, Carl Anthony Towns, he's got a max. He's 26 years old. And Edwards is 21. He'll be 21 on August 5th. So you got these guys for 3 years. You got Gobert inked up for the same amount of time. And this team they got into the playoffs, went 6 games with Memphis, you know, but they were 24th in total defense, points allowed. They were 16th in field goal percentage. Now, I wish they could have kept Beverly. They gave up 4 picks. I'm sure Ainge will do something with that. Gave up some role players, essentially. But they got rid of a big contract, this Utah team. They got rid of a big contract. They want to build what I read is they want to build around Donovan Mitchell. But you look back at Minnesota, you've got the presence of a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year in Gobert. All right. And you got this emerging star in Edwards, who's probably more talented than Towns, by the way. And Towns can play outside on the wing. He don't have to bond up that middle. You know, this guy could be their Robert Williams, Corey. Rudy Gobert. He could be their Robert Williams. He has the highest efficiency rating in the league, defensive rating, according to StatMuse. This is Gobert. You're not going to need his offense. And so you've got Towns, Gobert, Edwards can score at will. All of them inked up for a few years, contract-wise. Those are the kind of moves you're going to have to make if you're the Cleveland Browns. Like we talked about with Deshaun Watson, given that $232 million guaranteed contract. You're not going to get free agents to come up there and freeze to death. They'd rather go to Miami or play with other stars in LA. You know? They don't want to do all that. They want to play in a better environment. So you're going to have to make these kind of moves if you're Minnesota. Now, what Danny Ainge does with Utah, we know what he did with Boston. The future, we'll see about that in the future. I'm sure that's going to be a win-win situation because Ainge is usually about two or three steps ahead of everybody else with his scouting. But when you've got that interior defense, and I said this, that was what's underrated about this Golden State team with these young guys, Wiggins, Poole. Their interior defense was so overlooked. Bad shot by after bad shot by opponent. And it made their offense click because it's one and done. And pass, 3. One and done. You know, is it going to be perfect? No. But I do commend Minnesota for making that trade. I think that they're going to take that next step forward. Hold on, guys. So it's a win-win trade. I don't think, Pickles says nobody wants to play in Minnesota after it's freezing up there. I was watching a video with Kevin Durant driving to the stadium one day, and it was just snowing like nobody's business, and the temperature was below zero. That's a cold, dry wind, and I just wouldn't want to deal with it. There are airports. You can stay through the terminal. They have underground trains, so you won't even have to deal with it. I mean, that's why they have domes up there in the football team. People are nice. Good friend of mine. I used to work with a really good guy from Minnesota. Okay. So Jenny Buss, a lot of respect for her. The owner of the Lakers liked her better than her brother. She did a really good job. But she has put out a cryptic tweet the other day. This was on midnight, July the 3rd, going into July the 4th, her time in LA. And I just don't know what she was thinking, you know. But I just think that she could have handled this better. This is very passive of the person who owns the team. She goes to friends for advice, and that is and it's public, and how to run the team and everything. She's real indecisive. She puts this out. She says, "I miss KB." Everybody assumes that's Kobe Bryant, I'm pretty sure. Would understand, this is Jenny Buss. So I miss KB. He would understand and explain everything I'm not allowed to. Honestly, he was the greatest Laker ever. He understood the team over self, meaning your rewards would come if you value team goals over your own. Now, some are saying that she's setting the tone for a Kyrie type of situation. Others are saying that she was taking a shot at LeBron because of the situation they're in, where LeBron wanted to do the Hollywood stuff and wanted to run the team at the same time. And when these trades didn't work out, Westbrook, he doesn't want to take accountability. Or option 3, maybe she's had a secret fallout with Magic Johnson. Magic known to be a giving guy, an ambassador for the city of LA, an ambassador for the Lakers, worked with the Lakers, left on bad terms, but she forgave him for it. I don't know. And she failed to mention Magic and Kareem when she in the documentary, Winning Time documentary. Her first experience with the championship was with Magic Johnson in 1980 through her dad. Okay, so Magic, and then Kareem is the all-time points leader in the history of the Lakers. But I looked at Jerry West. And Jerry West is who put the coaching staff together, talked them into playing Magic the way they did. Not prior to that, he won the championship as a player. He's responsible for stepping down as a coach and putting Pat Riley in, taking the executive role, winning 5 more championships in the 80s. In the 90s, he sees something in this 17-year-old kid. He secretly works out a trade with the Hornets. He gets this 17-year-old kid, turns out to be Kobe Bryant. When the Lakers or the Magic looked like a lock, Pickles, to sign Shaq, re-sign Shaq when this big, huge free agent's coming about, he works behind the scenes. He grabs Shaq and put Shaq and Kobe together. They play a couple years together, a year together, didn't win nothing. Gets rid of that coach. I think it was Dale Harris. Then it goes out and gets Phil Jackson, who becomes her boyfriend. Mark Cuban called her boy toy Jenny Buss. And then they win 5 more championships. 4 with Shaq, Kobe. 1 more with just Kobe. So we're talking 11 championships, Pickles. 1 as a player, executive, 10 more as an executive. I mean, that is Bill Russell, John Wooden territory. So if anybody, and the people I read about and hear talk about Jerry West, including Kareem, who wrote part of the, epilogue? The Ford in Jerry West's book. Kareem wrote it. Known as a very quiet, shy, somewhat standoffish guy. That I mentioned, James Worthy helped him with being homesick and depressed and bummed out. Worthy went on to win the '88 Finals MVP. James Worthy, a guy from North Carolina, playing in big LA. So Jerry West is that guy. And the Jenny Buss, that's beneath you, Jenny Buss. You are the better sibling, the better of the brother. Really ran things in the ground. They were terrible with him. I don't even want to talk about the brother when he was running things. But she takes it back because she legally could, because that's the way Dr. Buss set it up. She takes it back, and then they get on track somewhat. But my thing is Jerry West is the man. And Pickles says, well, yeah, he played with Wilt, Elgin Baylor, Jerry West, and Gail Goodrich. And yeah, not to mention all those finals they got to and just got beat by the Celtics, not to mention that. But I think that was probably a shot at LeBron, I would think, because LeBron made the move to get Westbrook and they can't get rid of Westbrook. I mean, his contract is expiring. But I thought that was really interesting. Okay. Big news out of the Big Ten. Big news out of the Big Ten. Big Ten football. We talked about this last week. I said it in a tease. USC, UCLA, pretty much a done deal. Going to the Big Ten. And I have zero problems with that. Now, there was another report out today that this is from Dennis Dobbs. I think he's with CBS, but Pro Football Focus College picked this up. CBS actually picked this up as well, ESPN, that now the Big Ten, the Big 12 is in deep discussions with Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, Utah. Arizona State, Colorado, Utah. Mega conferences. Essentially what we're saying. And I'm still waiting for possibly Clemson and Miami to come to the SEC. And they can have Vanderbilt, Kentucky, or somebody. No offense to my Kentucky fans. And now I don't know if that was the Big Ten or not. Let me double check here. Either way, so if the Big 12 gets these teams in there, what is the Pac-12 going to be? It's just going to be, it's simply going to be it's just going to be a couple of mega, it's like 4 mega conferences or even 3. But again, talked about this before. Looking ahead to Labor Day, you got 2 games, 2 that are worth watching that could potentially have playoff implications, college football playoff implications. That's on Labor Day. And there's 95 games played. There's a lot of Savannah State and Texas. Austin P. What's up, Junior? And Tennessee. The ratings have went down because of stuff like that. It's up in spots. It's down in others. It's because, again, not to beat a dead horse, but you don't want to watch in a 12-game season. You don't want to watch 3 of those games be against somebody you've never heard of, or it's a 49-7 game. And a lot of times that's at halftime. Okay? So people say, well, it's about the money. Yeah. Why is it about the money? Why is the money so big? Because more eyes are wanting to watch these games. So if you put these teams in here with the Big 12, and then you have the Big 10, I love to see Ohio State and USC play not in the Rose Bowl, but play in the regular season. And let's be frank about this, folks. These teams that are not in the playoffs, if the pros are sitting out these bowl games, guys. And I don't blame them in some cases. I wish they would play it. But if they're not in the playoffs, and quite frankly, some of these guys in these Rose Bowl games, I think they're mailing it in lately or not playing at all. So your NFL talent is sitting out these bowl games. If it wasn't for gambling, I mean, who would watch this stuff? Thanks, brother. You know, it's just bad football, man. You know, and you want to watch crisp, solid. That's why I talked about with Texas getting all these recruits. They got another big recruit this past weekend. Miami's recruiting better. You want this to be a national sport instead of a regional sport. Even though I'm in the South out of the SEC, I still want to see national implications. It's good for the game. It's good for NIL, which is the students. You know, it's good for everybody. And regular season, it's, you know, and the regular season used to be better because you're playing for just one championship game. But this is, and you know, I give to charity, I give to the church and everything. I understand that these money that is associated with helping the universities, yeah, that's your problem. And I went to a small school. I graduated from Austin P. We've got thumped by Alabama, Tennessee. We've got thumped by those guys. They're boring blowouts, and you get all hyped up. Somebody in Tennessee, I followed the University of Tennessee my whole life. Their first 2 games are games like that. And for a minute there, I'm like, yeah, they look great against Bowling Green, Morgan State, Morehead, Appalachian, even though Appalachian State did beat Michigan one time. They went up there and beat them in the big house. But you get all hyped up those first 2 games, and then the real test is against Florida, and they lose just about every year. And I was telling my dad, I don't even like to read too much into these games. You know, Labor Day, you're not competing with the NFL. I want on Labor Day weekend, we just read about the Big 12 getting 6 teams. I want to see Oklahoma and Oregon play on Labor Day weekend. Okay. I want to see Arizona and Iowa State, Nebraska, somebody like that play on Labor Day weekend. Texas A&M, and pick an SEC school, an in-conference school. Georgia, Labor Day weekend. You know, better football. But it's just more money. The small schools will figure it out. There's never been more money in the country. And times have never been better, even though we've kind of hit a rough patch nationally. We're going to be okay. Those schools aren't going to fall apart. There's plenty of other money out there for this. And the guys that's trying to make it in the NFL that's going to the smaller school, guess what? Most of the league is undrafted. If you work hard enough and you're good enough, you're going to get spotted. Trust me. Jerry Rice went to Mississippi Valley State. He's okay. First ballot Hall of Famer. All right. Aaron Rodgers was at a junior college before he went to Cal. You know, money talks. Thank you, L Jr. Appreciate that. Yeah. And quite frankly, I look forward to seeing these games, man. I did better in college gambling than I did the professional. So people don't like change. A friend of mine, we're changing some of our way we do work at my day job. And we're using our phones instead of tablets and the app on our phone. It's a little bit different. We have to scan everywhere. I do pick up medical, blood, and urine specimens. And she said she read a study, like it works in a lab, that takes people 28 days to develop new habits. So essentially a month of good football, and you'll forget all about beating up on Marshall and giving him $1 million in charity. So by October, you're going to be seeing great football every day, all throughout Saturday. You're not going to have to wait till the middle of the night when you're dead tired. Some of us go to church on Sunday. Some of us do a show on Sunday and then go to church and don't want to watch midnight football. I want to watch USC play. And by the way, Notre Dame is getting recruited to a conference. They go to the Big Ten, which would be perfect. They could play Michigan every year like they do anyways. You know? So you'll see some of these games. I like my favorite is the 2:30 Central game. Used to be SEC, Alabama, and Auburn would be at 2:30 Central on CBS. I love those 2:30 Central games. You've got all your chores done. You've done your laundry. You've got a good workout in. Helping the wife or the girlfriend, helping the husband. You've knocked all that out. Middle of the afternoon. Sit back, get something to drink, and you can still do something at night, but from 2:30 to 5:30 Central, you got a really good game on. Really good. And a lot of the Big Ten games are shown early. You can kind of put off your chores that way. So I'm excited about the future. It's wide open. So we're 2024, you're going to get USC and UCLA. 2025, you're getting Oklahoma and a really puffed up Texas team, a built up Tech. Well, Arch Manning going to be a junior, going to be playing in the SEC. They're going to be playing in the SEC. So the future is wide open, like Tom Petty would say. Okay, there was another report today. Read this out of ESPN, Pickles, that the owner, and I'm going to make sure I got her name right before I just start spouting off here. Jody Allen, who is the sister of the late, great Paul Allen, used to own, he's dead. He died of cancer back in 2018. Co-founder of Microsoft, Paul Allen, did not have a wife and kids or anything. So his sister, Jody, she owns the Seattle Seahawks and the Portland Trailblazers. She said in a statement on Tuesday, I read this off ESPN, that The teams aren't currently for sale, but eventually will be. Allen's statement comes on the heels of last month's report from ESPN's Adrian Wojciechowski that Phil Knight, the founder of Nike, wanted to buy the Portland Trailblazers. And the Dodgers part owner, Alan Saminsky, wanted to, both of these guys were interested in the Trailblazers. So they're eventually going to come up for sale. They're eventually going to come up for sale. So you say, what do you want in an owner? Well, probably going to be a billionaire. I know that's why the pro sports teams are by the way, the Seattle Seahawks, Pickles, they're the 12th ranked franchise. You think they're not worth nothing? 12th highest ranked franchise, pretty close to $4 billion, according to Forbes. I would like to see a Jeff Bezos, who, by the way, is no longer affiliated with Amazon, technically no more. Somebody like that. He stepped down as CEO of Amazon back this time last year, a year ago, actually. Amazon covers some of the games. Somebody like that to own the Seattle Seahawks. Mark Cuban was interested. He let it be known that he would like to buy the Bears if they were ever to come for sale. Somebody like a Cuban who owns the Dallas Mavericks, Jeff Bezos, who owns Amazon, gets Seattle. I wouldn't mind seeing Phil Knight. And then the NBA would really be that much more in bed with China. But that's a different story. Phil Knight's a competitor, man. He would do everything he can to make Portland competitive. I wouldn't mind seeing Phil Knight on the Blazers. There's plenty of guys. I was thinking, as far as Seattle, how about the Lakers owner, the Clippers, this former CEO of our Microsoft, Steve Ballmer, by Seattle Seahawks. Steve Ballmer's a super competitor, super enthusiastic type of guy. So there's a lot of billionaires right now saying, man, Seattle Seahawks and the 12th man, that's a good buy. Those people are really into football up there. The stadium rarely seems empty, if ever. I love the stadium, the way it's shaped, aerodynamic dimensions. Portland Trailblazers, everybody I talk to, yeah, the players will be great owner. The Ricketts have lost their touch. Yeah, you know, Portland, Shaq said this. Shaq said Portland is one of the loudest arenas he's ever been to. And Portland is a huge basketball town. They are rarely quiet. They were loud when this team was bad. But you put one of these super competitors there, Portland will be nice. And there will be maybe a guy like LeBron by the Trailblazers. You never know. But eventually they're going to come up for sale. And you want a guy, deep pockets, competitor, who's secure enough to let his team run their organization. Let management do their job. You know, like a Dr. Buss, just talking about the Lakers, right? Maybe Jenny will sell them. Maybe she'll sell the Lakers. The Lakers be worth a ton. The Lakers would go higher, in my opinion, than the Clippers. They're still the Knicks. The Knicks are worth a ton, and they haven't been great lately either. But there's not going to be a shortage. Maybe whatchamacallit, I don't know if he's really into sports, the guy that's going to buy Twitter, Elon Musk. I don't know. You want somebody that's really into sports, it's really competitive, like Obama, like a Mark Cuban, Phil Knight, guys like that. The owner of Houston Rockets, he's into basketball like that, you know, and deep pockets, not somebody that has the organization like the former Dodger owner years ago. Basically bought them on a credit card and real estate holdings. Now, of course, they have new ownership now. They're balling. They're doing great. Magic's part of it. Magic Johnson's part of that ownership. But that's an interesting story to follow. Maybe a year or two away, you know. Not sure if that's going to take a while longer. But anytime when you hear a professional franchise, one of the Walton families, Sam Walton, the son of the Walmart, is buying the Broncos. They're going to be pretty good. And then you got Stan Kroenke, married to one of the daughters of the Walton. He owns the Rams, and did not ask LA for none of that money to build that stadium. Kudos to Stan Kroenke. Oh, and another thing. I don't want an owner to ask the city to build the stadium. Build your own stadium. Renovate your own stadium. You're a billionaire. Get your own loan. Do like Mr. Kroenke. If you can't afford to do that, don't buy the team, man. I don't want to have an ownership that it's like a superstar, like a Jennifer Lopez or somebody like that. I think Alex Rodriguez owns part of the Minnesota Timberwolves, by the way, but he's doing pretty well. You don't want them selling the idea of having a celebrity owner, like a big pop star, somebody like that, and then that celebrity owner turn around and ask you, taxpayer, city worker, to pay for their stadium. Now, man, we like your music, pop star, movie star owner. That's like somebody like Jordan, just because he's Jordan, you get to see Jordan around town, asking you to finance his arena in Charlotte, which I don't know. I don't think he has, but I'm just saying that's an example. I'd rather have the boring rich guy that nobody knows that is secretly very competitive on my team than the celebrity that brings a lot of attention to the town that asks you to pay for their renovations. No, sir-ree. Okay? If you guys like the show, share the show. I will be back on next Tuesday. Eventually, if there's a good possibility SportsSkope could be on. If I don't get on with the job, I'm looking around in sports talk shows all over the country, radio stations to hire me. Nothing comes about right around Labor Day. It's a good chance at SportsSkope. Good chance. I have to talk to my boss. The SportsSkope is going to be 5 days a week, be around 7 p.m. Central Time, and it will be this much better. I'll have guests on there. Maybe get a guy like Al Borges. It would be really, really money, El Jr. Really good. But that is all in the mix. There's a lot of moving parts before that could come into fruition, guys. Appreciate the follows, guys, and comments and everything. El Jr., Corey, Pickles, Carlos. I don't know where you at out there. I didn't dog out the Knicks today, or I didn't overly praise them, although I do like Jalen Brunson, the signing there. But anyways, I'll be back next Tuesday around 9 p.m. Central Time. Check your notifications within 15 minutes. Have a good night, everybody.